Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a pretty wild idea, and honestly, a slightly uncomfortable one. What if your morning routine, the one you've perfected and think is so good for you, is actually sabotaging your entire day?
Yeah, you heard that right. The central idea we're exploring today uses this exact phrase, biological sabotage. It sounds incredibly dramatic, doesn't it? But what if there's some serious, hard science behind that claim? What if your highly tuned morning ritual is actually holding you back? So let me just ask you straight up. That coffee you immediately start brewing, that phone you grab before your feet even touch the floor, or, even that intense workout you push yourself through, what if all those things are actively fighting against your body's natural programming? Well, let's find out.
Okay, so to really understand the sabotage, we've got to first understand the system that's being sabotaged. And it all comes down to your biology, specifically how your body is already designed to wake itself up long before you even dream of that first cup of coffee.
It's called the cortisol awakening response, or CAR for short. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Cortisol? Isn't that the stress hormone? And yes, you're right, it is. But in this context, try to think of it less like bad stress and more like your body's own built-in rocket fuel. It's this powerful natural surge designed to give you peak energy and focus right when you need it. And this whole process runs on a very specific clock. Think of it like a wave. The moment you wake up, that cortisol wave starts to rise. Then, somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes later, boom, it hits its absolute peak. This is your natural window of maximum alertness. But after about 90 minutes or so, that natural boost starts to fade. Understanding this timing is, well, it's everything. So keeping that biological peak, that energy wave in mind, let's look at 3 incredibly common morning habits that it turns out are perfectly timed to completely interfere with this natural process. First up, the one that might sting a little, the most sacred of morning rituals for millions of us, grabbing that cup of coffee the absolute second you get out of bed. We do it to wake up, but the timing is the whole problem. You're looking for that jolt to get your engine started, right? But here's the sabotage. When you introduce caffeine while your cortisol is already at its peak, you're basically telling your body, hey, you don't need to work so hard. I've got this covered. You're basically pouring gasoline on an already roaring fire. It doesn't actually help. Over time, your body learns to produce less cortisol on its own. You effectively flatten your own natural energy peak. You build a much higher tolerance to caffeine, which means you need more just to feel normal, and you pretty much guarantee a monster crash later in the afternoon.
All right, mistake number 2, and let's be honest, this one's an epidemic. Waking up and immediately grabbing your phone to scroll through emails, the news, social media. You know the drill.
The goal seems harmless. You just want to catch up, see what you missed. But the sabotage is neurological. You're flooding your brain with other people's problems, demands, and anxieties before your own mind is even fully online. This immediately shoves you into a defensive, reactive state. And the result of that, instead of starting the day with your priorities, you're starting it with everyone else's. Your focus is shattered from the get-go, and all that precious peak cortisol mental energy is spent playing defense, not offense. Now, for the one that feels the most like a good habit, jumping straight into a high-intensity workout. This is seen as the absolute peak of discipline. But let's look at the biology again. The goal is totally noble. I want to start my day with a healthy win. But remember, cortisol is a stress hormone, and an intense workout is also a form of physical stress. A good stress, but stress nonetheless. Doing this during your cortisol peak is just like stacking stress on top of stress. It's biological overkill. Okay, so if we're supposed to avoid coffee, phones, and intense workouts first thing in the morning, what on earth should we be doing? Well, the answer is all about working with your biology, not waging war against it. Here's a simple, much smarter framework. First, get some sunlight in your eyes and no sunglasses. This is the single most powerful signal to your brain to wake up and properly time that cortisol release. Second, hydrate with a glass of water and move gently. A short walk, some light stretching. And third, and this is the big one, wait on that caffeine. Just let your natural cortisol wave do its thing, hit its peak, and start to fall. Then, about 90 minutes after waking, that's the perfect time to have your coffee. All of this points to a fundamental shift in how we should probably think about our morning routine. It's not about trying to cram in more productivity hacks. Ultimately, the goal of your first 90 minutes isn't to create energy, but to protect the powerful energy your body is already giving you for free. It's a period for preservation, not frantic, counterproductive activity. By just avoiding these common mistakes, you allow your body's natural energy system to do its job, setting you up for a more focused, a more stable, and a much more productive day. So, that leaves us with one final question to think about. What will you do differently tomorrow morning to protect your natural peak?